this is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the HTC One SV. Somewhere between the S and the V, yes, there is the SV, and it's kind of in between there in terms of specifications. It is a gorgeous phone. This is available in the UK, and we're looking at the version that's available on Cricket Wireless here in the United States. Lovely 4.3-inch Super LCD2 display. Really nice design. Looks like a premium phone, doesn't it? Stunning orange. I do like orange, I admit, so I like the way this phone looks. Comfortable to hold in the hand, and only $279 from Cricket without a contract, which is pretty phenomenal. We're going to look at it now. So the HTC One SV, again, it's available now, 4.3-inch Super LCD2 display. It's a lovely looking display, even though it's only 800 by 480 pixels, which, well, used to be really great a couple of years ago, but now it's considered kind of low end. But still, it's a gorgeous display, the kind of thing you would expect to see on an HTC One series phone. Lovely viewing angles, nice colors, sharp, good and easy on the eyes. It also looks like a more expensive phone than it is. Granted, Cricket cuts you a good price, even without contract. They discount the phones just a bit so that you're not feeling the full pain of retail pricing. So this is $279 after a $50 mail-in rebate, and that's without having to have a contract with Cricket Wireless. For those of you who don't know about Cricket, they are a CDMA provider in the U.S. I think they're the 7th largest national provider at this point. And they do some spectrum sharing with Sprint and with Metro PCS. So they have pretty wide coverage. As you can see, we've got 3G symbol up here. It has 3G EVDO Rev A. Cricket also now has LTE, though here in Dallas we're not picking up LTE. If we look around the phone, you can see we have these orange backlit buttons down here, 3 of them, matching the phone. And it looks like one of HTC's metal unibody phones, but it's actually not. The back is made of plastic. That doesn't mean it doesn't look nice, though, because it does. This part here is metal, almost a coppery kind of orange-red. There's our volume controls right here. Top is the power button. There's our 3.5mm headphone jack, and nothing on this side. Clean design. And the back, here it is, glorious reddish, flamey orange. 5-megapixel camera with LED flash. This is a variable LED flash, 5 levels of brightness. In our test, it really was a little unpredictable. I wouldn't say that it was the most intelligent variable flash, but there that is. Speaker grill is down here. And yes, this back does pull off, even though it looks, again, sort of like one of those lovely metal unibody phones that HTC makes. Edges right off here, they stick out a little bit, so you just grab at any point that you can reach and start yanking the back off. And there we have 1800 milliamp battery, actually replaceable, good times. Micro SIM card slot and a micro SD card slot, and that comes with a 4 gig card pre-installed. 3 gigs is reserved for the Move Music service. That's something that Cricket offers. And the other gig is for you to use. And of course you can put your own card in here if you want to as well. As mentioned, this has an 1800 milliamp battery that's removable. Yay, that's always a wonderful feature right there. And so far battery life has been average for us. Now we're in a 3G area. With 4G LTE, that's going to hit the battery a little bit harder. Likewise, if you use a lot of GPS navigation, if you play 3D games all day, your battery life's going to be worse. But with average use, we found that we could go up to 2 days on a charge with this in a 3G coverage area. The phone has a 1.6 megapixel camera right up front here, and you can see our fairly large earpiece with the contrasting little orange accents. It picks up some lint in there, one annoying thing about it, but otherwise no complaints about the phone. As you can see from the front right here, we've got our HTC Sense with our HTC calendar, all their usual stuff, HTC Peoples on board, and the usual flip clock with the weather embedded. So this is HTC Sense 4.1 on top of Android 4.0 for Ice Cream Sandwich. Sorry, no Jelly Bean here, no word on if and when this will ever get Jelly Bean. We also have our quick launch strip for applications down here, and when you turn the phone off and turn it on, the HTC ring lock, you can just drag one of these icons right down to the lock, say we want to go straight to the camera, to launch that app, and you can customize which applications appear there. The phone runs on a 1.2 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Plus CPU. That's the MSM 8930 with Adreno 305 graphics. So that's actually a little bit faster graphics chip than we see on the 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon used in other Android phones. Go figure. The memory pipeline is a little bit narrower on this, despite that, to the graphics chip. So I'm not saying you're going to get really better performance out of it, but that's what the specs are. It has a gig of RAM inside and 8 gigs of storage. 8 gigs of storage isn't a lot, but you do have that micro SD card to expand storage. Of course, with Android, you need to put your applications on an internal memory, so if you're a big gamer, keep that in mind. Games these days can be a gig apiece, but for the rest of you who aren't putting giant games on these phones, 8 gigs should be plenty enough. The phone has dual-band Wi-Fi 802.11 and Bluetooth 4.0, a GPS with GLONASS service, and that works with Google Maps and with Cricket's own navigation solution, and it has NFC, so you can share files simply by touching the back of another device that has NFC as well. If we take a look at what you get, you can see we have our Move Music icon over here. They also bundle a couple of games like Uno on here, backup solution, a PDF viewer, and all of HTC's apps that you usually see bundled with Sense, like their own custom music player, are on board. We've got Cricket Navigation right here, Cricket 411, Cricket's own curated application store, in case you're terrified of the Google Play Store, which you shouldn't be, but notice this here, Flash Player. It really does have Flash Player 11.1, pretty much a rarity on Android phones that are shipping today, since Adobe has stopped supporting mobile Flash and taken it off the Google Play Store. So for those of you who really are in love with your Flash videos and don't want to figure out how to sideload it, download it from someplace, well, that's a selling point for this phone right here. Speed is just fine. It's responsive. We have our usual Sense division here of all apps, downloaded apps, frequently used applications. Absolutely no complaints about the performance of the phone. Voice quality on this has been very good in the Dallas area. Now, this, of course, can vary by region and what the service is like in your area, but really nice, clear, landline-like voice. Volume is average. It's fine. It's adequate. It's not super duper loud, but really pleased for both incoming and outgoing voice. Speakerphone sounds a little bit hissy and tinny, but not hideous. You know, a lot of speakerphones aren't the greatest things on smartphones. And as I mentioned, you have Move Music here. This is a Cricket service, and you have access to downloadable tunes. They work with quite a few music studios, and we'll just check out a song that we've downloaded. You can hear the speaker. It's not bad. Certainly pretty loud. As you can see, we have an FM radio player also on board, and we've got Google Music here too, Google Play Music, as well as HTC's music player, so you certainly have a lot of options for how you're going to play your music on the phone. And we fired up Google Play here so we can test out some MPEG-4 movie trailers that we've got. Now, this is a 800 by 480 resolution phone, so playing full 1080p video, there's really not much of a point to it, so we're going to go with our 720p test video. This is already higher resolution than the phone's display. Looks great and plays fine. Phone has definitely plenty enough horsepower to do this. When it comes to data speeds, again, we are not getting LTE here on Cricket's network, so we're using 3G EVDO Rev A, and well, the speeds are not too enticing compared to some of the faster technologies out there and some of the bigger carriers, but here's the results that we've gotten, and this is with a signal going from 3 bars all the way to full. The one on the very bottom there, goodness knows, something just went wrong there, so I wouldn't worry about that number there, but generally speaking, we're under 1 megabit per second for down and for up. That said, loading web pages is not too painful. We'll test that out now. By the way, you get both the standard web browser, the Android WebKit browser on this, and Chrome was pre-installed, of course. You can download Chrome for any Android 4.0 or above phone as well, but it is pre-installed. And we'll visit our own site, Mobile Tech Review, but first, just so you can see, here's HTC's usual customized keyboard. It's one I like a lot. Press and hold to get the alternate inputs. You don't have to switch between number and letter keyboards, for example. And we're doing this over Cricket's 3G network right now, loading our full website. This is not a mobile website. Speed's really not too bad, considering it's a pretty heavy page, plenty of images and things. So it's certainly a usable 3G connection. Zoom speeds are quite good. Usable. And we'll check out YouTube playback on it. So we'll try out our video review of the Lenovo ThinkPad Tablet 2 here, and this should use real flash. And again, we're doing this over Cricket's 3G network. We'll see if we can get enough speed going. And it's a go. It's actually doing quite well.
Now, let's not get confused here, because the first thing Pat... tablet, well, that one was an Android tablet, and this one runs Windows 8. 3 pounds. It's from
So here we are in full screen mode, and it's playing just fine. Took a while to buffer up, but looking good now. Now, given the, relatively speaking, budget price of the phone, you're not going to get the world's best 8-megapixel shooter here, but you actually do get a pretty nice 5-megapixel camera with some of HTC's bells and whistles. Backside illuminated sensor, the HTC image chip, HDR shooting, 1080p video, they're all here. And again, that multi-level flash, which is sometimes reliable, sometimes not, in terms of how bright it decides to fire that flash. But got a lot of settings here, too, for shutterbugs. We're going to enjoy that. You got ISO, white balance. We have more advanced camera options here, widescreen, face detection, smile capture. And if we tap auto, you can choose between panorama, HDR, auto mode, portrait, landscape, whiteboard, close-up. For macro shots, does a decent job macro shots too. You can tap to focus if need be, though it usually figures that out pretty well for itself. You can see a little bouncing because we're pretty close right now. If we move further away, it's going to focus. And if we move a little further away, much quicker because it's not having to do that macro focusing there. I just did a tap to focus real quick. So quite quick. And now HTC style is once you hit that I want to shoot a video button, it starts shooting. You don't actually have to hit the record button, but we can take pictures at the same time by hitting that button. And to give you an idea of how that HDR mode functions, here's a picture that we took. Obviously the cat is very backlit, and you can see he looks awful dark, doesn't he? Though the detail is reasonably good. And then the next shot, we turn on HDR. And, well, it's certainly brightened up the picture. It's got an unnaturally light, ghostly green color cast to it. So it's a little overzealous when it does that in terms of really boosting the levels for darker areas. That's one complaint that we have about the camera. And now we're using our usual test game, Dead Trigger, because it's pretty visually appealing and demanding 3D game. You're not going to see any Tegra Zone water effects right here, since it's not a Tegra CPU, but it still looks pretty good. And it's playing just fine. So yes, you can do gaming on this phone. Some pretty nice gaming, in fact. The HTC One SV also has Beats audio, something that you see on all HTC One series phones, and that works to improve headphone output audio. In theory, basically it does a lot of bass boost, but does a little sound separation as well. And you can see that we have Dropbox on here. That comes pre-installed, and you get 25 gigs of free storage with that too if you register or sign up or activate on the phone. So all in all, it's a pretty nice phone. If you're open to one of the smaller national carriers like Cricket, really is a lot of value here, especially these days when a lot of people really want to avoid contracts. For $279 after that $50 rebate, you get a pretty nice phone here. Cricket does have good coverage in pretty much all urban areas in the United States, and one of the interesting things is you plug your zip code into their website and you see what phones are available. And even though we are in their coverage area here in the Dallas marketplace, it didn't show us this phone or the Samsung Galaxy S3. But when I plugged in a Chicago zip code, it did. Likewise with Brooklyn, New York, it said, no, you can't have these phones. So I find that a little bit confusing. I'm sure if you're a Cricket customer, you've already got that all figured out, though. So that's the HTC One SV, available in select Cricket markets in the United States now. Definitely a phone if you're into trying a carrier like Cricket that I can recommend. It's certainly a quality piece. It fits in your pocket. Looks nice. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that like button.